Hey, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome to my M2 tutorial, which is a faster method for learning to solve the edges blindfolded. So with M2 for edges and Alt Pokemon for corners, you can reach like sub 1. Like that's how far you can take this fairly simple, but like definitely quite a bit faster method for edges. So definitely recommend learning this once you get comfortable with tracing the pieces in Free Blind with Alt Pokemon for edges, which I'll assume you already know. So let's just dive right into it. So now I'm just going to jump into an example solve so I can show you the gist of how the method works. You'll probably notice some similarities between this and M2, not M2, sorry, Alt Pokemon. So starting off, our buffer is now at U instead of at B. And the swap sticker is now up here at A. So first letters R and X and B, then P. So starting off, I'm going to set up R to here by doing this. And the Alg to swap with my buffer is, instead of a T perm, it's now M2, hence why the method's called M2. And I'm just going to undo that. Now the next one is X, so I'm just going to set this up by doing this. M2 and undo. I'm going to keep going. Now I'm going to set this up by doing sexy move, undo, and opposite of that. And now I'm just going to set this up to the same place. So when you were using Alt Pokemon for edges, you might have known that you couldn't set up in a way that would affect like any of these pieces as well, so you'd kind of screw things up. But for M2, the key thing is to not interrupt the M slice. So if I just set up this case by doing, instead of U, R, U prime, I notice how the M slice is kind of fixed now. If I did like R, then U prime, that would kind of screw up the M slice. So if I continued doing it, then it would kind of screw things up. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some cases that you can't really intuitively, I guess, get an understanding of through that way, and you just have to memorize Algs for. So the first one is for the case of Q. This is a pretty straightforward algorithm. The other ones, so the other four, which I'll refer to as special cases, are the ones for C, W, K, and S. And you'll see why I'm referring to them in this order as well. So the Alg for C is... Damn, I forgot it already. So the Alg for C goes like this. And the Alg for W is, well, the opposite. Now the Alg for I, which goes like this. And now the Alg for S, which goes like this. Also, just a side note before we move on, this is how I recommend finger tricking the M2s. You can choose one of these. And I'll show them on both sides. And the other option is just to do pinky ring. And I recommend just alternating depending on which side you're doing setups on. So for instance, okay, so before moving on, I highly recommend going through the setups and the Algs in a flashcard program such as Anki, which I'll put in the description below, just so you can get used to making the setups as automatic as possible, so you can focus more on the actual like memorization and like getting through the solve as fast as possible. And also the important caveat in M2, which seems to throw a lot of people off, which I'll focus a lot more on in the example solves. So yeah, be sure to do that. And the second thing is that perhaps when starting off, it might be okay to use something like images or just like think about the letters when getting used to the concepts behind M2. But I'd highly recommend switching to using audio memo for edges. So what I mean by that is to memorize each letter pair using pretty much a one-syllable sound, pretty much. It could be a word, like if you get C and T, you could probably stick a vowel in the middle and make like cat. But for something like, I don't know, N and J, like maybe just put like something like an I and make nidge. It doesn't have to be a word, but it could be. And having the memo and execution order for corners, so memorize corners first, then memorize the edges. So memorize the corners using something long-term. Images would be most preferable. And edges with the audio memo, like I said before. Then executing in reverse order so executing the edges and then the corners. The reason being is that audio is a fairly short-term kind of thing, because you're kind of repeating the sounds like over and over again in your head. But it's pretty quick, because you don't have to like think about converting them into images or anything. And the reason why I'm suggesting it's auto is because M2 is quite a fast method, so you can make quite like damn, I can't English. You can kind of take advantage of like the audio memo if you set up things that way, and it's worked pretty well for people as well as myself. So I definitely recommend it, and I actually still use that exact same like order and like those memory methods to this date, and I average like sub 20s, so it'll serve you well in the long term as well, and it's most practical around the time when you're learning M2. So okay, so everything for M2 would probably work just as you'd expect up till now, but there's one important caveat that seems to throw a lot of people off, so I'm gonna like spend a lot of time on this topic just to make sure it doesn't throw you off too much. It's that when executing, when you get a special case on the second letter of a letter pair, you perform its inverse. So just reiterating, the special cases are C, I, S, and W. If you're not sure what's a special case, the alg for inverting it or undoing it is different. So for instance, Q is not a special case because the alg for undoing it is the same. However, C is a special case because undoing it would be this instead, which is also the alg for W. So you perform the W to undo the case for C. So yeah, keep that in mind. Everything else works the same, it's just that. I'll give you some examples just so you can train this a bit more. Okay, so here's a simple one. So it goes from buffer to J and C. So first one is, well, it's pretty straightforward once you're familiar with the setups and all that. And yet the second letter of the pair is C. C is a special case, so we perform its inverse, which is the alg for W. So it goes like this. Okay, so here's another example. So the memo goes like this. S, Q, F, and K. So starting off we have S, which goes like this. Then we have Q. And then we have F. And then we have I, which is on the second letter of the pair, because we had SQ and FI. So we have to perform the inverse, which is S. Okay, so it's example solve time. So I'm just gonna do the edges only, obviously, and I'll also kind of show you how I memo with audio too, so you can kind of see what goes through my mind pretty much. So starting off, here we have R, M. So I think like RAM or REM, I'll go REM. T, S, TES, V, Q, so VAC. I, J, IJ, and E, which is our buffer piece. Normally you'd still be tracing with your fingers, and if you did that, you'd probably realize that you only have 2 flipped edges here left, and that's about it. For flipped edges, I usually just kind of visual like memo them, so I just kind of remember, oh, there's 2 flipped edges there, and that's it. If you use something else, feel free to use that, but I tend to find that sufficient enough, especially for something short term like edges. Okay, so going through execution, which should be pretty straightforward now. So R, M, T, and now we have S, and S is on the second letter of the letter pair, so we perform its inverse, which is the alg for I. And continuing going, so we have V, Q, and now I, J, and finally E. And if you know like a flip alg, prefer to use that to do all these like 2 flipped edges. For example, like an opposite flip alg, you can like kind of set up like that and just do flip alg. But I'm just gonna use textbook M2 just to deal with this for now, just so you can see, like, if you don't know any flip algs, like, M2 is still pretty fast. So I just kind of shoot to one thicker than the other one, pretty much. So just like this. And if you get parity, a good alg you can do is this. And I'm using a pinky ring M2. Okay, so I'm just gonna go for another example solve. This time I'm gonna trace with my fingers. So starting off, we have I, P, IP, L, S, less, and A, ma, R, N, ran, and that's a buffer piece. Looking around, I can see there's a flipped edge over there, and there's two pieces on the bottom I haven't touched. So I'm going to start a new cycle at V. So V, X, Vox, and goes back to O, so just O. So it'd be like Ipless, Maran, Voxo, and I just remember the flip there. So starting off, so I, which goes like this, P, then we have L, and S. So yeah, once again, special case on the second letter of a letter pair, so we have to do the inverse, which is I. Now M, A, which is just M2, fastest alg there is, R, N, and now V, X, and O. And flip, so I'm just going to shoot to one thicker than the other one. I'll go to D first, then to E. And once again, parity alg. So yeah, that's about it. Even though this method's pretty old, like I think it's been around for like over a decade maybe, and it's I guess fairly simplistic, especially compared to some other intermediate methods that are kind of floating around. It's still like pretty damn fast, and it can get you to like sub 1, which is like one of the major goals it seems people have. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know below. I try to make sure I focused a bunch on that the whole deal of these special cases, because that seemed to throw a lot of people off. I know it kind of did for me as well, because I didn't realize that like the A and Q stickers weren't like special cases, so I made sure to emphasize that too. And yeah, I'll probably make some more educational stuff in the near future, because I figured out quite a lot of stuff through like my coaching trials, and I have a lot of useful stuff to share with you guys. So yeah, that's it. Bye.